Are you still hearing the noise about whether Canada's going to enter into a recession and whether it's going to be a hard landing, a soft landing, or no landing at all? That's the million-dollar question. Regardless of what lies ahead, we have to recognize and be aware that equity markets lead us into the recession. They also lead us out of a recession. And so if you look back over the last 40-odd years or so, the economy has experienced multiple recessions. The most recent was the 2008 and 9 financial crisis, and then the COVID meltdown in 2020, which was very short. What's interesting about these is when you go back over the last close to 40-odd, 50-odd years, the National Bureau of Economic Research, whenever they declare a recession, they don't declare it today. They look backwards and they say, hey, you know what, we entered a recession, looking backwards. Well, what's interesting is on average, 234 days pass from the time the recession starts to when the actual recession begins. It's the same thing again on the back end of it. Often the economy or the markets are really roaring. They're having significant gains. We're in the back end of a recession, okay? And months after that is when the National Bureau of Economic Research comes out and says, hey, the recession is over and it ended, 4 months earlier or 3 months earlier, 2 months earlier. So we really have to be mindful about how we interpret the recession chatter. Now, here's a couple of things I just wanted to actually comment. The media sells on negativity. They've done studies on this before. The more negative the news, the more media they sell. Okay, and I'm going to give you an example. And I did a session recently where I talked about this. And if we use the example, and again, it's an unfortunate example, but we hear about shark attacks at a beach. Okay, and if you happen to be on vacation, you might think twice about maybe going into the waters that day. But the reality is sharks kill on average less than 6 people a year. Okay, well, what's interesting is when you actually look at the data, more people die from hippopotamuses than they do from sharks, but you never see it on TV. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw a hippopotamus on TV was around Christmas. Okay, so it's really important that when we do actually enter into some of these economic or some challenging times, that we're actually managing our emotions and we're actually looking at the overall kind of the big picture. Okay, so listen, if you're concerned about how a recession or an economic slowdown will affect you and your net worth, give me a call or talk to an investment professional. Make sure that you got your ducks in a row and you're doing everything you can to manage your expectations.